the whole wide world. All my niggas in the whole wide world made the song and make it all yours. Turn for us. This shit.
Whilst working backstage at Fashion Scout SS18, I got the chance to see what goes on behind the scenes. I observed that black models usually waited longer to be attended to by hairstylists. If you pay close attention to this show, you would observe that your chance of seeing a black model, if any, is rare. This being based on the fact that a black model that was set to work for this show was told she would not be able to because she forgot her wig. My hair cannot be tamed shows us why black hair is so significant to the black community and the society.
My name is Shawnee Crow. I'm an interdisciplinary artist, but a lot of the work that I do is hair related, and I usually create avant-garde styles kind of created from my interpretation of some African styles, some popular African-American styles, just kind of like pop culture in general.
Yeah.
And then I photograph those styles. So I'm a photographer, hairdresser, interdisciplinary
What made you go
artist.
that path?
Well, honestly, I felt like I even planned it or even thought too much about it. All I knew was, okay, in high school was when I decided to, I guess, try to switch my style up and like just be different. And I didn't like have this idea, oh, I want to be different, but I just knew that I didn't want to wear like the regular polos and Nautica stuff that was a trend like back in the day. I knew that I wanted to kind of like be different. So that's how that started. And I felt like me wanting to switch my style up and experience and try out new things, like in part helps with my confidence. And then I met Susie, like, I guess later on in high school. Yeah. And I don't know what it was, but I always thought her style was dope. I'll come to her with ideas like, oh, I want to do this. I want to try this. And, so I didn't expect this to happen. And then so then when I joined Instagram, people started to follow me a lot because of my hair, because it was like different and it was like cool. And so, yeah. And then now, like, I'm able to like make money from it. And I'm able to like, I guess, set trends or be a part of trends and things like that.
Hi, my name is Betty, and I study fashion at University of Hertfordshire.
Hi, my name is Natasha, and I study fashion design.
Hi, I'm Jeremy, and I study fashion as well.
Have you guys gained any experience backstage at Fashion Week or any fashion experience in total?
Yeah, I've had some decent amount of experience backstage. Not fun, to an extent.
It's quite interesting. I guess it depends what level you're at. If you're like, I mean, if you're anyone but the designer, because even the models, then it's like not fun.
But it's chaotic.
Afterwards,
yeah.
Yes. But then it's kind of like fun in the chaos. I mean, I like
when you take a step back and look at it. Yeah, it's fun.
Probably not in the moment, but after.
Definitely not in the moment.
So, what would you say your hair means to you?
Means everything to me.
Yes.
Love my
Not
hair.
me, but I feel like it definitely represents like who I am and like what I stand for. I feel like life is too short for boring hair, and it's fun. So hair's not
your hair
just
is your
hair, no.
frame. It's so important. If you jack someone's hair up, the world sees it.
Please don't jack my hair.
For me, braiding hair is an intimate thing. It's getting up close and personal, and I like to do it for people that I know and love and trust.
Hair is super important to me, not only in my artistic practice, but in my life, because I've done hair since I was maybe like 11 or 12. And even before that, I was interested in hair, and I would play with my doll. So I've been, kind of interested in hair all my life.
In terms of your hairstyles?
Well, my family in particular was really Afrocentric. My mother and father, especially. So I always wore my hair natural. I never got a relaxer ever in my life. But when I got to about 11, 12, I did really want to wear my hair straight. I think it was more so, well, some of it had to do with, of course, peer pressure, just seeing my peers, a lot of my peers.
What made you feel pressure?
I mean, so at one point I remember like I was really young, I was in a hairdresser shop and it's like, come and straighten your hair, it'll be really smooth and nice. And I straightened my hair and I felt so like, and the moment water touched my hair and the kink came back, I just started feeling really sad because I'd lost like that smoothness, that ease that everyone is just.
At a young age, black girls have found it difficult to find anything that represented them, from Barbie dolls to representation within the media.
Where are your black dolls? Okay, why didn't you just say so? Well, kind of thought I'd just see them.
I got you, girls. Come on, ladies, follow me. We're taking a hike.
Oh, so they're like separate area.
Ladies, allow me to introduce you to Sassy Sadie and equally Sassy Selma.
Okay, so let's see here. Sassy Sadie. Little Sadie Crawford left home with nothing but the clothes on her back and a desire to be free. So she's a slave?
Not anymore. She escaped and eventually learned to read. Sort of.
So she's a runaway slave.
Who can read.
Okay, so you have dozens of disabled...
differently abled.
Fine. Differently abled. And hundreds of amazingly successful white dolls, but only 2 black dolls.
African American.
At that point, you know, presses were like greasy and straight, like flat to your face, you know, so if your hair had any volume, you didn't want the volume. You wanted it to be like bone straight. So I remember, you know, if my hair were to get a little fuzzy, or I would wrap my hair and wear a scarf to school and then take it down at school so that it would stay super straight. So, I mean, at the time that I was wearing it straight, I didn't want it to I didn't want it to be puffy in any way, you know, so that was the point where I was more, I guess, the most dissatisfied with the texture, but it was only in an effort to wear it straight. But then I also wore my hair braided a lot in high school. I would alternate between braided styles. I would do braids and these really cool beads. I wore them a lot. I would just switch between kind of pressing my hair and braiding it. But fortunately, it never, you know, because of my upbringing, really, you know, my parents they worked really hard to make sure that I was proud of
what would you like tell your younger self in regards to your hair? And like from childhood experiences you've had, what would you tell your younger self?
I probably would have told my younger self to take more care of my hair. So I'm fortunate enough to have like good genes. So my hair is like long and thick, but I don't think I took care of it as much as I could have or should have. So I feel like I would have said that. And I also probably would have told my younger self, my hair didn't break from perms or anything, which is a good thing, but I probably would have told my younger self that you didn't need to perm your hair. Like you didn't. It was more of my mom's decision anyway, but it was something that I loved. I loved the fact that my hair was just like straight and like silky. And then when I have a daughter one day, I'll definitely give her the option of whether she wants to perm her hair, but throughout her childhood, I definitely want her hair to be like unpermed and like, you know, styled in like different ways, because when you allow your child to, I guess, see the beauty of natural hair, it in turn like affects their confidence, it affects their blackness and their association with their blackness and who they are and, you know, where they come from.
I didn't really like my hair growing up. When I was in Ghana, obviously I was born in Ghana, so I loved my hair then, because obviously everyone was like with their hair out. But when I went to Italy, it was like more like, if your hair is out, it's like they look at you weird. It's like, well, your hair is so cozy, or like it's not maintained well, and they don't understand the nappy part of it. Is that how you say it? Yeah. Or curly part. Yeah, the kinkiness of it. So then I tried to like hide it in like weaves and braids. So, but now I'm embracing it fully. Going for it.
Well, I'm kind of the same with Betty. Growing up, I liked my hair, but I always wanted my hair to be like the girl in my class, you know, like the European look. And then I was introduced to relaxing my hair, which was also great. It was horrible to go through, but it was great. But again, as I got even older, I started to realize the damage I was doing to my own hair, to myself, you know, not just to my hair but to my own health. And I realised, you know, there's other ways I could enjoy my hair without damaging it or hurting myself. And then I started looking at weaves and wigs, and I literally just cut all my hair off, started from scratch, and I started to have a new relationship with my hair, if that makes sense, because I started to understand it more in its natural state. So now I'm more involved and in tune of what my hair's going through, per se. Whereas before I didn't really know, I just wanted to be like the next girl. So I've embraced it a lot more now, even though I still wear wigs and do different types of hairstyle and braids it. But yeah, it's just that's just a different form of expressing how I feel. But I'm more comfortable having my hair out now.
Could you easily go to a drugstore, for example, and find hair products you need?
A drugstore, maybe not. It depends. Like, I think Shea Moisture is like, okay. So as of recently, lately, brands like Shea Moisture, Carol's Daughter, like you'll start to see that a lot at drugstores, but it also depends on the area. So I live in Queens, and like there are a lot of Black people in Queens, so you'll see that. But I'm wondering if I were to go to the city or Staten Island, if I were to go to like a drugstore like CVS or Rite Aid, would I see that there? Perhaps not. Yeah. And then I think the same goes with the beauty supply stores. It depends on the area that you're in.
Would you say there needs to be more of like an outreach in terms of that more stores cater to the hair products you do need?
No, definitely. I feel like if stores like these aren't up with the program, it's like really sad. I definitely do see like a shift in terms of like the hair culture. You know, as of lately, like this year or last year, it's very important, but there's some stores that are still lagging behind. And I think it's just ridiculous.
What type do they have?
I mean, I've seen, even though I wouldn't use it now because I don't relax my hair, I've seen olive oil hair relaxer in the shop. I've seen olive oil, you know, olive oil, the brand. I've seen the shampoos and conditioner. I think I've even seen Shea Moisture in there at one point, but more in Boots. But I have seen it in Tesco a few times. I haven't bought it because it's slightly more expensive, but I tend to have to go back to
Facts. So where I live, I don't have any problem finding products because it's a Black neighborhood. Hair, there's beauty supplies everywhere on the South Side. Unfortunately, all of them are owned by Koreans. They're not owned by Black people. So that's another goal of mine, to start some Black-owned beauty supplies on the South Side of Chicago. But beyond that, it's easy for me to find products, super easy. But for a lot of people that don't live in a Black neighborhood, it's very hard to find products, especially if you rely on, like, let's say a store like a Target or a Walmart. When they have those stores in Black neighborhoods, they have Black hair products. When they have them in white neighborhoods, it's going to be harder to find a lot of those products because you're not, the audience that they're catering to. The customer, rather. I used to
get so bogged down by like the fact that places like Boots didn't sell the hair thing that I wanted. So I used to find places that do sell the products that I wanted, even if it means going to PAX, or like find brands that want to support you or like care about you or market to you.
So like, what do you feel about Shea Moisture and Madame C.J. Walker being bought by Unilever?
That really hurt me, especially
like they're taking the part of Black hair.
I mean, it does, and people will be like, "Oh, you're exaggerating." They were already acquiring Black hair brands. They could have. I mean, the Black hair market is worth 1.6 billion or something like that. 1.6 or 1.7 billion. They could have acquired like up and coming like Black hair brands as well, and kept that as their own.
Yeah.
To me, I feel like they just sold out.
Yeah, because for what? I mean, you never know what.
You know what? You never know what could come. I mean, and especially Madam C.J. Walker, who was a pioneer, like a pathway, because like one of the richest like Black women in history, and one of the most important entrepreneurs. They had that, and they basically sold it back. So now she's white owned. How, if she was alive, like how would she feel? Like, do you understand your consumers? How did you get here? If not for YouTubers, Black YouTubers who are pushing your like curly souffle, you wouldn't be where you were today. You know? I was an avid Shea Moisture. I was preaching about them left, right, and center. But after I was like, hold on.
For me to do that because I knew the value and the time that I put into the work that I create. But when you tell people that you do hair, and it's really unfortunate that Black people have been taught to undervalue their culture so much. When I tell Black people that I do hair, they be like, oh, you know, no, you know. You tell someone of another race and they're a little bit more interested because they're just unfamiliar, and they hold it at a higher esteem because it's new territory for them, kind of. I don't really know. I mean, especially now that they're on trend.
After working backstage during Fashion Week, it was obvious that black hair within fashion needed to be talked about. So I contacted Alex, the model who was told she would not be able to walk the show anymore because she forgot to bring her wig.
Loads of times by myself at fashion shows. I now have, I have a wig as well. I have like 2-3 wigs that I use. If the client asks me in advance, I bring my wigs. If they don't, then you get my hair how you get my hair. So it's not my fault, it's theirs. If you want long hair, tell me in advance. You look at my pictures and you think, yeah, she's got long hair, but it's obviously not my real hair. So you ask me to bring my wigs, I'll bring my wigs. If you don't ask me to bring my wigs, I won't bring my wigs. You'll just get my hair natural. Why should I bring my wigs and my wigs? Do you have a hair team who you're paying or you're not paying or they're sponsoring you? They should bring their own hair stuff and they should bring their own wigs and stuff, but they don't. They don't. It's like they go there and it's like they know there's black girls on the show, but they don't really acknowledge the black girls. The black girls' hairs are always the last to be done. You will find black girls' hairs are always the last to be done. It's like, oh, just in case they run out of time, if a black girl has an afro, they can just leave it like that because it's an afro. Oh, it's fine. It looks perfect like this, as they say, but it's not done. It's not even brushed out. They just leave it how it is with the uneven afro. But they're just, a lot of them are not, I wouldn't even say you need to be qualified, but if you're learning hair, you learn hair. Like, learn every sort of hair type. Don't just learn one sort of hair type. But a lot of the salons do that. I go to a lot of hair castings. It's like they'll ask all the agencies to send their girls, but they won't really book a black girl, or be really rare they book a black girl. So it's like, if you're practicing every other race's hair, but you're not practicing on black people's hair, how are you going to learn how to do our hair type? Do you get what I'm saying? So it's unfortunate, and it's really sad because, again, we're in 2017, we're right at the end of 2017, and nothing really seems to change. You'll have the 1 or 2 hair salons, like Headmasters, that I do work with on a regular basis. They cater for black hair. They have people like Nicole, Christina, and Gareth, and the rest of them, but I'm qualified because you don't need to qualification to know how to use black hair, but they train and specialize in this sort of stuff. They will have a course and be like, look, this course is just for afro hair, so we can teach the people that work with us how to do afro hair. So yeah, but a lot of places as well find that instead of booking black hairdressers and salons, they want to book the white people, and the tick box on, can you do afro hair? But I think they should, because it's only fair, because I know so many black models during Fashion Week which is like, we're so over it. At the end of it, our hair was so damaged. February Fashion Week, I did 7 shows in the end, and at the end of Fashion Week, I actually had to cut my hair. I had to cut my natural hair because my natural hair was so badly damaged. A few shows let me have it as an afro. A few shows would straighten it out, but then because I did 7 shows, I was doing like 2 shows per day some days. So I was going from show to show to show to show, and then casting. So I'd have to put my hair back how I would like during a casting. But my hair got so damaged, I had to cut it because people just didn't know how to manage it. They will brush. They will think they're brushing out. Like, say you've got spritz in your hair, instead of adding water to it, making it softer, they'll try and brush it out. And I'll be like, hold up, what are you doing? I found myself so much this show season, and to be honest, I've got to the point of, I try and be nice about it, but sometimes I don't care how rude I come across. Because if I've seen you last show season as a hairstylist or whatever, and then I see you again this show season, I expect you to at least have the knowledge of how to do hair. You are not going to brush out the holding spray from my hair and black. That's going to break my hair. But they don't care. Some of them just don't care. It's, oh, we're running out of time. When they're running out of time, and because they say all the black girls last, they're rushing, but they have no respect for your hair, and they're fully ripping your hair out. Not even just Fashion Week, every show, every shoot, everything to do with modelling. I think, depending on who you're working with, we all literally sit there like, look at your hair, and we'll all laugh at each other, like, whose hair's the worst? We will all literally sit there, laugh at each other, whose hair's the worst? And it's really bad that we get to a point that we're so upset about it that we're laughing about it so we don't cry. And I think a lot of us models even get to a point that we just switch off, that we get to a point, I do it sometimes, I get to a point of with my hair and my makeup, I'm like, I'm not looking in the mirror because I probably look really bad. And if I look really bad, I'm not going to want to go out there. I'm not going to want to shoot because these pictures will be for life sort of thing. But yeah, we all sit there, we have a little chin wag laughing about our hairs, like just whose hair's the worst and oh, who did your hair? And you occasionally get like that one black girl whose hair and their makeup looks really nice and it's like, oh, who did your hair and makeup? And then we all try to go to that same person because we know that they can do it. And it's really bad that you will probably have one person out of a whole team that can actually do black hair and you're waiting for that one person. It is really bad, but it's quite funny as well. And sometimes I find that I bring my own products. So if I've got my natural hair out and I know they want a slick back look, I bring my edge control. I know a lot of black models that bring their edge control. I find the edge control, you can't go wrong with edge control. And a lot of the white hairstylists that I've worked with, I've actually educated them.
So we asked the black community, who is at fault in this situation? What role does the hairstylist play at fashion shows or shoots? What standards should organizers set for shows as well? Does the fashion industry still have a lot more to do with in terms of catering for black hair in fashion?
There's no way she's to blame because it's like, first of all, she shouldn't be held to any kind of thing that all the other models aren't held to because they're with the same contract. I do see like why they wouldn't use her because she didn't match the vision, but then they should have been prepared for her to match the vision. It's not her responsibility.
They don't know how to braid the hair first, braid the certain model. They don't know the style, so they'll just be like, can you come on set, braid, and then leave?
Really? So you don't stay true?
I don't stay true.
So there's a hairstylist?
There's a hairstylist. It's like if a hairstylist doesn't know, so for example, I know every time I go on set, there's always one story that's being relayed about Alexander McQueen in the 90s/80s, no, not 80s, but in the 90s or early 2000s, he needed a specific braid that would be on all of his models, but none of his hairstylists teach him how to do it. So they went to the rural parts of France and got these braiders to come and braid the model's head. But then you never saw pictures of them braiding, did you? Because the credit went to the hairstylist. If before it would be like, can you come and braid? But then they'll get the credit. They'll pay for the day, stuff like that. I'll come as like a braider for the service, and then I'd be asked to kind of like just go after. Yeah, but that's why I had problems with the specific company because you'd come, you'd braid, and then you'd leave. It's like kind of like, no, I did the work. I came with the concept, but then you feel like you wouldn't get a part of the credit. So, but maybe I didn't vocalize my point at the time. I didn't actually understand what was happening. I didn't understand anything about credits or like anything about exposure or anything like that. So, but yeah, it happens. Even to this day, there are some teams that will hire specifically like braiders to come on and help them with their concepts or their shoots, and then ask them to go because they didn't know how to do it. But I guess it's the question of like, are hairstylists on set, are they like creative directors for hair, or are they supposed to know how to do every single style that is on, that they're being requested? Braiding is a specific skill set, you know. But like grooming black hair should be like by far a necessity, like basic. You know, you can brush a white person's hair, you can like blow dry. Why can't you put a comb through someone? But I remember one black model who I wasn't asked to do came up to me and was like, "Joe, do you have a brush?" I was like, "Yeah, doesn't Revlon?" She's like, "No, but you know, can you just give me a brush?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." And then somebody else came up to me and was like, "Do you have oil sheen?" I'm like, "I'm not supposed to be doing your hair. You've been asked to do someone else's hair." So it's kind of like, why?
But do you think it's a job of the fashion companies, like organizers, to ensure that the hairstylists they do get are able to provide for black hair texture, for example?
No.
Or do you think it's a job of the hairstylists in general to do?
Yeah, and also with training, like how is that not, if they're trained hairstylists, then how is that not taught to them at school, wherever they, I don't know how it works when you train for hair, but yeah, it's just like, if you're a hairstylist, you can't call yourself a hairstylist if you can only do one type of hair. I just think that's mad. And companies maybe think that, I don't know, but maybe companies think that these hairstylists can do black hair as well.
Absolutely. And I think that I've seen, at least with a couple of hairstylists that I know that are not black, there is really important to them to be able to work with textured hair. They really want to be able to say that they can do black hair. And I think that it's important to be well-rounded in your practice as a hairdresser. But I also think that you can just hire a black hairstylist, you know. And I'm always going to err on the side that will give more black people more opportunity. So my suggestion would be that the fashion industry enlist more African-American stylists that have practice with black hair. Because I've heard the model that I mentioned to you from Eritrea, she has a bunch of she has a whole lot of beautiful, thick, kind of like curly, bushy hair, super pretty. And she was saying that, you know, some of the things that people have said to her, like, oh, no, I'm not touching that, or no, I'm not, you know, like just, you know, she's arriving to places that all the rest of the models that are being paid the same amount of money as she is are arriving, and they're getting their hair done, and she's told that she's a problem, you know, and that she has to do it herself or find somebody to do it for her. That's not, that's kind of wrong. And then it also is unprofessional, because if you are a fashion brand, you've hired these models, you know what they look like, you need to be able to accommodate them. They're in your show. So, and then a lot of times too, I've seen people that don't really know how to handle black hair, they may damage the model's hair by frying it too much, like putting too much heat on it, burning out people's edges. I've seen stuff like that. And then just kind of doing a bad job because they don't know how.
You have to prep your hair to the same extent as everyone else. They should have people to cater to all types. Like if you're going to cast a black model, have people able to do black hair, do black makeup, do you know what I mean? Same for white people, because you're never going to get like a black hairstylist who's going to do afros and 4C hair working on a European girl. It's just not happening.
Yeah. I mean, the model's just the canvas. She's just there to wear the garment. So it's up to you to decorate the canvas how you want it to look, how you want it to present. So why should the canvas come already prepped?
Yeah,
it doesn't work like that.
Exactly,
it doesn't work.
What would you say is the scenery of like black hair in fashion? From backstage and from the front?
It's a joke. It's actually a joke, if I'm completely honest.
It is shame that, like most of the time, with like black models that get casted, they want the stereotypical bald look, like you can't grow hair. It's like that's what they want to portray, and I think that's why young girls hate their hair as well, because they don't even know they're capable of growing it. But yeah, even with the whole Lupita thing, when they photoshopped her hair out of that last magazine, it's like.
Or Solange, they photoshopped her.
I mean, bald is great, but it's not all we can do. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or why not make everyone bald? Because you'll get like 10 white models with slick ponytails, and then one black bald person. It's like.
Or you get the one black model with some sort of slick ponytail, but it's not her hair.
It's not slick.
Wanting and the need for more black models coming from us, which is great, obviously. It's amazing. We want the black models. But because those who are already in the industry now, a lot more, but because they don't know how to like cater to black hair, they don't know how to cater to black skin, they don't know how to cater to like that black aesthetic that we want. When you see black models on these covers and on these,
they've got straight hair.
They just have straight hair.
They've got wigs.
They've got wigs on because that's what they can do
I
for
can't
these
even
models.
think of one black wig. Doesn't have.
Unless they're bold or low cut.
What do you think about cultural appropriation?
The society we live in tend to imitate a lot of the black culture without paying respect to it or even crediting the source of their inspiration.
It's like before I was like, nah, I don't care. But then I look at my page, I'm like, okay, this isn't like, it's like, braiding is kind of like your expression of self. It's your like, it's your, I don't know, how do you explain it? It's like,
because it's like a cultural way of
it's honestly adorning yourself, right? And you're adorning other people. Not to say that they can't have braids or they don't understand it, and it's just
white people have lots of spaces where they can go and get their hair braided.
You know, and there was nothing for us.
In central London, like so.
Wearing afros is very important for black people. Wearing their hair out, because we always feel like we have to do something with it. You know, we always have to tame it, put it away, you know. So wearing it out is definitely a bold statement politically. So there's that. But yeah, I do know that from what I've seen, especially like in West African culture, everybody's hair is done, you know, like everybody's hair is styled in some way. And like I said, it's because it's practical and it's beautiful. I know that some hairstyles have like ceremonial significance, or maybe rites of passage, or a certain part in your life, or, you know, so there's a lot that I need to learn and gather from that. But I think that braiding for me has always been super practical and just pretty, you know, like you can keep your hair up and create something beautiful and wear it for a while. So I don't know, I think that adorning yourself is a really, really cool part of self-love. And I think that it's a really important part of Black culture. Like, here's my thing. I think that I understand people's attraction to braids and hair culture, because people are, especially white culture, because it's just not, hair-wise, they don't do as much with their hair. They do have their own type of Celtic braids and braids that they do, you know, like those loose kind of fringe braids that are also really beautiful. But cornrowing or cane rowing is just very African because it's kind of part-centric. The style is kind of based on how you are planning those parts and then creating those braids. So that culture is something that's beyond whiteness, and it's something that's attractive and interesting to them because it's something that they had not done, and something that they want to conquer. I think that, you know, wanting to conquer something is a very European, very European like mind state. So because of the way that they have that kind of conqueror mentality, they never approach things in a way where they want to honor where these things come from. And that for me is a problem. Like, they want to come into your house and it's their house. They don't want to come in and be friends with you and become partners with you. They just want to take it. So because they want to remove Blackness from a Black art form and a Black hairstyle, that's my problem. So similarly, you know, Japanese culture is super obsessive and stuff. They have like a whole subculture of B-style, like women that model themselves after Black women. Actually follow a few Japanese braiders, and they do really beautiful work. Their parts are very straight. Their work is super neat. You know, definitely something that I can praise for quality. But I just feel like when Japanese people obsess over something, there's an inherent respect for the culture that it comes from.
Like, it's not necessary for a white person to have their hair braided, because it's like they have to wash their hair more. They have to, I don't know, their hair is easier to, like, I suppose, maintain daily, whereas having a braided hairstyle, for me, it's like I don't have to deal with my hair for a month. Do you know what I mean? It's like ease as well.
It's the idea that it's still a disposable trend, or disposable craft.
I don't have a problem with anyone trying or wearing or whatever, any type of hairstyle. But when you start taking it on as your own, as if you came up with it, that's when I have a problem with it. Because it's like you're now adopting someone else's culture, and you can't now put your name on it and say it's mine. It doesn't work like that. You know, it came from somewhere, and you need to look at the history behind it and how it got there. Okay, fair enough, you don't want to go that deep into it, but just take a minute and appreciate where that came from.
That's all it is. It's improperly credited, and it's like just paying homage to where it came from. But it's also a case of understanding not everything is for you. I'm not saying like, oh, certain people can do, certain people can do that, but like certain people have this belief that they can do any and everything. Do you know what I mean? It's just about having a respect for other people's culture, like understanding. It's not always about the attention. It's not always about, if you don't understand where it's come from, if you know nothing about the culture, nothing about its history, and then to the extent where
that's almost mocking in my opinion.
You're calling it a different name, you're claiming it as your own, and you basically rebranded. They can choose which parts of our culture they like, and then it's like, it's totally okay when they represent it, but when we have it, we have to wear wigs, we have to shave our head, we have to cover up, we have to relax, we have to straighten, and it's like...
And then if you want to be yourself, it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, there's a difference between culture appreciation and appropriation, because if they had, like you said, real representations of that, because I've seen old people on the catwalk these times, I've seen overweight people, underweight people, like, the stereotypes of the size 2 model who's this high, blah blah. They're going out the window now. They're just getting all kinds of people. So there are options to get these people that they're inspired by, but instead they're using the same models that they've been using, who are amazing. But it's like, then that's not the look you're going for.
Mind that they call, for example, braids, box braids.
No, reference well. It's like if you know that you're copying from a photographer, you'll reference and praise their work. If you know that you bought something from COS, you won't say that you bought it from like H&M. Like, reference well, like give credit, you know. Same way with braid, give credit to the craft, to the artist. It's not a boxer braid, it's a cornrow, you know. Dutch braid even, borderline. But like, you know, this is a box braid. This thing that's coming down from my head I've attached with an expression, that's a box braid. This style that goes up like this is shuku, you know. This is a turban, this is a head wrap, this is a headscarf. Reference. It's just about respect, you know.
It's a political thing.
Is it?
It is.
A statement?
Black women's hair is political.
Are you making a statement?
I don't intend to, but I do.
You have it imposed on you, the statement?
You really do. By walking in somewhere with my hair like this, people make assumptions, they're immediate assumptions. If my hair isn't straight, people can assume that you're either, you know, they might think you're an angry black woman, or they might think you're very soulful, or they might think you're an artist, or they might think you're vegetarian. I mean, there are all kinds of things.
Or somebody likes a lot of time in the hair salon.
That too. Well, but no, the straight hair requires a lot of time as well. But, you know, I'm just interested in hair as a means of talking about other things. What does the society tell us is beautiful? Because, you know, you look at women's magazines, and these things matter. You know, these things matter. And we look at what's on television, and what does sort of the larger society say is beautiful? It's straight hair. And so you have young girls who are growing up with that in their heads. And it's something that I want to talk about and want to address and want to challenge.
During the last quarter of 2017, 2 magazine brands airbrushed the musician Solange and actress Lupita Nyong'o's hair without informing them, and both celebrities took to social media to reflect how upset they felt from this. We follow up to hear how part of the black community also felt in regards to print media and how black hair is represented.
In the beginning I was like, it's for a cover. It wouldn't make sense for Solange to be like so in the back with her hair out. And then I was like, wait, no, hold up a sec. This is a braid cover. It's the whole point of the shoot. They could have had her, just her like head. They could have had just her head. They could have zoomed into her head if that was what you wanted, but you don't cut off.
Especially like she didn't know.
She didn't know, and even me, I was like, oh, this is a really nice braid
stuff. And that's like a focal part of the shoot.
Yeah, it's like you still don't understand that, like the concept of like braiding and like black hair and the texture. You want braids, but you don't want time. You want braids, but you don't want like the process that goes through it. Yeah, it's like this is not like a 10-minute thing. This is a craft. Yeah, you know, this is not just a trend. This is not just like an aesthetic. This is a process. This is us. So it's like you can't want something and then not what comes with it. It's not a wig.
I can understand as a photographer if they wanted a certain shot or for it to be cropped a certain way. They may have made that choice, but the major misstep with how they handled these situations is that they went ahead and they edited these women's hair without asking them, and that's not right. Because Solange, I know personally from working with her, when we worked together for Saturday Night Live, she's very thoughtful and particular about the things that she does. She has a vision and she executes that vision to her according to how she sees it. So she would not have chosen to wear her hair in that style if she intended to have it cut off. So, right there you have a problem. None of these magazines reached out, and it kind of speaks to the way that white people don't understand the importance of hair, and also how they don't understand. I think that a lot of these magazines are used to working with women that work exclusively as models, and models usually don't have any say about how they look. But if you're working with Solange, who is an artist who has a very clear vision of how she wants to present herself, first of all, they shouldn't have taken it off. It was beautiful. Joanne Petit-Frere did her hair. She's another amazing hair artist. She's a Haitian woman. She's based in New York, I think now. But really beautiful work. I'm sure she put a lot of work into it, and they ended up cutting it off. And they really should have just asked, because they kept it in its entirety in the spread, I think, right?
Yeah.
The spread in the magazine had the entire style. But they thought that it was okay to just take it off on the cover, which doesn't even make sense to me. Why wouldn't you just ask disrespectful to me? And especially with Lupita, because Lupita didn't have a tall, like, Solange just was, you know, tall, so maybe it couldn't fit. But Lupita just had a ponytail on the side. It was just a little puff. And they were like, no, we're going to take that out. And we're going to look like she had a fade. She doesn't even have a shortcut anymore. Cultural sensitivity is just something that's lacking in a lot of these institutions. People don't know how to deal with anybody other than white people. For the most part, it's just like there's so many other people in the world. White people are actually the minority of the global population. So why is the white standard being the standard that's upheld like across all these platforms? You have to learn how to deal with other people and respect other people. I think that that's really important. And the same thing with cultural appropriation. It's like you have to learn how to respect people's culture. And there are boundaries, you know? Everything is not yours for the taking. So you really need to consider other people's feelings on that thing, especially when you're dealing with people of color.
One thing that we didn't have was like imagery. Growing up, we didn't have enough imagery, and I feel like by you like doing all these incredible paintings and showing like black hair, you're adding to the imagery that needs to be seen. Like Black Tumblr is a huge part of that, like creating beautiful images of like black women that can be like seen and passed on to other black young girls.
You feel Tumblr helped?
Totally, that pioneered it. If anything, it reminded me of like the 90s renaissance of like all these black films that we used to watch growing up, or our uncles and our cousins used to watch growing up, because it just showed themselves in a light that they've never seen before. Like, you know, like whether it be Janet in like Braids or like Janet in...
How would you say you're helping like fellow black women or like younger girls about their black hair, like to stand out with their black hair and to embrace their hair, for example? How would you say you're doing that?
I think I'm doing that by, I guess, being effortlessly me. And it's what really inspires people, what encourages people is if they see one person doing something and not caring about society standards or not being affected by it, and just loving, and like if they can associate happiness with my page, and if they can associate comfortability with my page and confidence with my page, then I feel like I'm doing my job right. And I must be, because I'm inspiring some people to be able to like not care about what people think. And I feel like it's more than just hair. It's about confidence too. And it's about being able to stand on your own feet, and regardless of what people's opinions or thoughts might be. And I feel like that's what when my brand represents and what it's about. And yeah, people have told me that.
Like what, 4 years ago through Tumblr, because we didn't see ourselves the way we wanted to be presented.
There were no enough imagery.
Of course not, no. I mean, I grew up looking at reading British Vogue and Teen Vogue, hoping that there'll be at least one black person on the cover. I was very much into media and stuff growing up, and to see Black Tumblr doing that in a fresh light was like, right, okay, I might not find it in magazines, but I can find it online instead. And then going over to Instagram and seeing more and more of black imagery, fended from that, and you feel confident about yourself after looking at that, because it's like, okay, no longer do I have to find this thing to fit me. Nah, this fits me already, because I've seen somebody of my shade and my ethnicity or color type, hair type do the same thing. So no longer are we having to compromise to fit another standard, subconsciously or consciously.
We actually have so much imagery now.
We have so much imagery. I don't even have to,
choose who you follow.
What comments do you receive about your hairstyles from people?
The first thing, oh, can I touch your hair? But before you even ask me to touch it, your hand is always halfway near my head.
That to me, if you get the reflex, then that's something.
Just don't touch, don't touch. That's almost like my hair is a part of me, it's part of my body. So that's like you inappropriately touching me. Do you understand? In my opinion, I don't feel comfortable somebody putting their hands on my head unless I'm giving you permission.
Black people unfortunately perpetuated the most to each other, but it's stuff that we've learned. We've learned that the way we look is not good enough. So whenever you see people with really black features and black hair, it's like you want to immediately shame that. Like, I've heard all types of crazy stuff, like, dang, Like, nah, it's okay. She got that good hair. Or, you know, you have people talk, you know, valuing one hair texture over another. If people say good hair, they mean hair that has, I guess, more of a silkiness to it, or a curliness or a straightness, you know, or hair that is able to be straightened easily. So, I mean, that's not the way I see it, because I work with all hair textures, you know, and I can work with all hair. That's what I do. I mean, I just think that it's so important. I don't use those type of words, and my parents, you know, made sure they didn't use those words around me, and they told me what those things mean and that they were actually, you know, derogatory and meant to divide black people.
It's such an incredible time to be black now, for black women. No, I mean, it's always been lit. It's always been lit. We've always been the loudest and proudest.
I feel like in school, I didn't think it was lit to be black. I was made to feel like it wasn't lit to be black. I didn't even want to be black. People would tell me that I would look better if I was light-skinned, or if I was white. Yeah, for sure. People would say all sorts of nonsense. And I feel like it's not until recently.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
Let's say like probably 3-4 years, not even that. And now that we can all celebrate together, we've like united almost.
That's actually
now we can actually, we've got this camaraderie that's so inclusive of everyone who's black.
That's very true.
So
that's very true. And I suppose my position is quite different because I mean, I have a mum who she's mixed race, but she's always blow dried her hair, like from I can remember. So,
Meghan Markle.
Exactly, like blow dry. So obviously I had that growing up. And
so who did your hair when you were growing up?
She did my hair. Her hair's naturally big and curly, but she's always straightened it. And I've got a little sister, and she says things like, I want my hair straight like yours when I grow up. She's got like such lovely hair, but it's, I don't know, I've grown up seeing that, so I suppose it's not like ingrained.
Yeah. You and your mum are such like a stock.
It's actually more my dad who put in my head that like one day I will love my hair and never straighten it. Because hairdressers would it was only hairdressers that would tell me to relax my hair, or like ask why I hadn't relaxed my hair yet.
I feel like that's again why white people have this affinity with black hair, because most of it's in ignorance, but again they're also curious to be able to just change their hair up like we do, but they can't. I mean, they could if they was wearing wigs all the time, but I don't know, I feel like they just look at us in awe though, all the time, in every single area of black life. It's all that we can, you know, that our parties are different, our celebrations are different, our food is different. It's just that extra bit of flavour.
They're only trying to catch up on it now because the demand is high. You're only going to respond to what the demand is. You know, we're demanding diversity is happening, but they don't have the right people to execute it.
They do, but they just don't want to.
And there's a bunch of young creatives now who are creating that aesthetic and being placed in like fashion magazines. You know, whether it be Jin doing hair or Ib doing like styling, like it's happening. The right aesthetic is like here. Even in Nigeria, like Dazidi, you know, Chukwan. Jesus, I don't even. There's so many people out there. Orange culture. Like you can even talk about like fashion rising in like in West Africa. Loza.
Everyone's just embracing their roots now.
Yeah.
And they're liars if they say they always were like this, because it's a lie.
Like they've waited long enough for something to be
and now it's celebrated, that's celebrated amongst us as well, because it's different if it's just celebrated amongst the white people, if it's us, but now that we're actually celebrating ourselves, we're unstoppable.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Very much, guys.